Have you ever wondered why some Harry Potter films feel so different from one another?
And why do some so as and so
Well, I'm AM, and today, along with my friend Jackie,
Freddy is a strong word.
we're going to talk about the legendary visionaries of Harry Potter, how these different directors brought their styles and uniqueness to the magical world and created
Capitalist gold mine.
a beloved series with millions of fans.
Also, who is the worst and who is the best?
Welcome to this new episode of Fuserious. Alright, first we got the awesome Chris Columbus, who directed the first two films, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This guy is known for his work and fun family flicks. He totally brought the magic and excitement to the Harry Potter films, like those bright visuals and the sense of wonder. That's all, Columbus.
So what? You was just a lucky bastard that smiled as someone gave you $1 million to adapt a children's book?
Nah, don't be silly. That kind of thing doesn't happen. He already had a big name for himself, with Grandniece, Home Alone, and Babysitter Adventures. He struck a chord with families.
Well, my daughter Eleanor constantly said, "Dad, you've got to read this book." And I said, "No, I don't want to read it. It's a kid's book. I don't have any interest in that." And it took her about 8 weeks, and I finally picked up the book, read it, and fell in love with it, and said, "I have to make this into a film." Now, I called my agent and found out that Steven Spielberg also had the same idea, and he was toying with it at the time. So I said to her, "I don't want to think about it. If Spielberg's going to do it, it's not even a possibility." So I didn't think about it for about 6 weeks, and then he passed. And then I was called into Warner Brothers for a meeting, but it was some sort of bake-off. There were about 8 to 10 other directors also interested. And basically, I got the job because I said to my agent, "I want to be the last person that they interview." And I spent 8 days rewriting the script. Just not because Steve Kloves did a brilliant job, but I wanted them to see visually how I would do it. So I stayed up till 2 in the morning rewriting the script. I knew if they didn't hire me, I wouldn't get paid for this, but I wanted them to see what sort of passion I had. So I went in and I put the script on the table and I said, "This is how I see Harry Potter." And it took them about 5 weeks, but I did get the job.
We putting a story and all, but we should talk about his films because I have several problems with the second one.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is a great start to the saga. It cuts just the necessary, keeping up a lot of what makes the book so special. The charming nature of Columbus makes a great match with the Wizarding World, using warms, colors, perfect lighting, camera movements, and a lot of wide shots. It's just a charming and fun adventure for all the family to enjoy. So if you have been watching in a long time, give it a rewatch, because I have watched it countless of times, and I swear to you, it never really gets old.
Now, let's talk about the Chamber of Secrets, or in other words, how Columbus made a boring movie where nothing happens. Columbus makes a return for the sequel, trying to capture what made his original film work so much, but this time not working at all. The original book wasn't a great story, but the story and Columbus were in the same page. The story was a bit more serious and slow, which is a stark contrast to Columbus' style, so the movie doesn't play to his strengths, and as a result, it sucks. But despite of that, he's not the worst director. Oh no, the others are much, much worse. By the time the production of the third movie began, he was so tired, he left the franchise to another director with a less post style than him.
And that brings us to Alfonso Cuarón, who took over from Chris Columbus. Alfonso Cuarón brought some serious edge and creative freedom to the series, because he was an author that liked to do very experimental stuff, so he made sure to include a lot of experimental camera movements. He brought the series to a focus in character, emotions, and expressions.
Well, the most important thing was to serve the material. And as Joe Rowling asked me, to be faithful to the spirit of the book, not to be literal. So that's a big responsibility, because now you have to be faithful to the spirit. What we said is we define the theme of the film, and then we decide, okay, this is the theme, this is our line. whatever sticks into that theme is going to stay. Whatever doesn't stick, it could be a beautiful scene, could be something great in the book, but we cannot afford it.
Born in Mexico City in 1961, he started his career directing some serious cool Mexican films. His very first feature was Solo con tu pareja back in 1991, and it was this super charming romantic comedy. He made his Hollywood debut with the film A Little Princess. His genre and tone varied from romantic to comedy to drama, so every film was very unique.
Yeah, for directing Courtesy Crab, he brought some creative balls to the series. Much respect, bro.
When it came to Harry Potter, Alfonso Cuarón wasn't super familiar with the books or the materials, and in fact he didn't want to direct a movie with a lot of special effects. But Destiny had other plans, so the producers were like, "Hey Alfonso, why you want to direct a Harry Potter film?" And he's like, "Okay, alright, let's do it. Why not?"
What the? You just told me that the kind of thing doesn't happen seconds ago. You asshole.
Alfonso really made the film so sophisticated and intense.
Don't ignore me.
His use of darker colors and smooth storytelling was just perfect for showing how the characters and the series was growing and changing, and this change lasted the whole series. Sure, some of fans were unsure about the changes for the first two films. The Prisoner of Azkaban was a total hit with the critics.
And for once, I agree with the critics. The film is badass. With a tight plot, incredible pacing, and amazing cinematography. Prisoner of Azkaban is a banger. Now, is Cuarón the best Harry Potter director? The answer is...
This is not a competition, so let's continue and talk about Mike Newell. He directed some smaller films and TV projects with different styles and genres, but he really hit the spotlight with his amazing rom-com 4 Weddings and a Funeral in 1994. It was like a big hit with moviegoers. From then on, Newell showed he had a real knack for directing comedy.
The only thing that freaked me out was that I actually didn't know how to do this stuff. I'd never done CGI like this before, and of course people were very generous and tried to teach me how to do it, told me how to do it, but it's simply you were learning on the job, which is quite a freaky thing, and I didn't know quite how to handle it sometimes. Everything is storyboarded, and when I started the job, I found that the storyboards were an immense constriction on me. I hated them because, there they were. There was no room for development. There was no room for improvisation. There was no room for the spark of the minute, of the moment. Unfortunately, that's how it has to be, because there are so many people who depend on my very first telling of that story, which is the storyboards. Then everybody else works to that. So I simply had to come around, but that was quite freaky at the time.
The thing is, Harry Potter books were getting bigger, like way bigger and more complex, making it really hard to turn the books into a movie. You will have to deal with cutting a lot of parts and plots and characters, with kinda changing the story a little bit,
That's why it sucks.
Oh my gosh, it's not that simple, okay? Mike Newell was a very talented director. However, he had a trouble finding the right balance between serious stuff and comedy, because he loved the funny side of things too much, so he had trouble finding a right balance in tone. Newell used muted colors and fancy camera movements to convey emotion, and he was really good at directing dramatic scenes and dialogues. Even with the challenges, Newell managed to pull some of the key scenes so perfectly, and the movie was a huge success, bringing over 896 million. And it's totally impressive, right?
No, it's not. The Goblet of Fire has some of the war things in the Harry Potter saga. Stupid plots like fighting between Ron and Harry, team blocks like the whole Bar Crunch thing, forgotten characters like Harry, and a lot of more dumb decisions.
But we also have like some of the best things in Harry Potter, like the Wizardry Tournament, Voldemort Return, and the amazing haircut.
And for that alone, I rank this movie 0 out of 10. for that hideous hair, and I rank Manuel as one of the worst directors, even though it can get much, much worse. David Yates is the worst Harry Potter director.
Stop! Stop!
Ah,
Stop! Stop. Now, David Yates, also the guy known as the director of the last 4 Harry Potter films, he was born on November 30 in 1963 in England. He studied politics and literature. Okay, what a combo. He directed shorts, films, and episodes of the British political thriller series State of Play, which got him noticed, by the way. Yates directed a bunch of different genres, from comedy to documentary to drama, though his specialty and what he liked to do was drama and thriller.
And the very first nerves, David Heyman, who produces, kind of walked me onto a set of Mike's film, Mike, who did Goblet of Fire. So he brought me, and it was like walking into a kind of Roman auditorium. Bloody hell, this is huge. And I had a flutter in my tummy at that point that lasted 5 minutes. And then you know what, it was, after that it felt like coming home. It was really strange. I just kind of took to it like a duck to water. And I think it's because it felt like a very safe environment. You know, I'd never made a studio picture before. I always assumed when you made studio pictures there was some team of execs who would always be fluttering around, looking over your shoulder. But they kind of just let me get on with it. They were very excited about the dailies. They've been very positive and happy with the film. So I felt more or less like, well, this is pretty cool. I can just make the film I want to make, and I did.
Yates' style itself started some drama though. The color grading in the movies became like super desaturated, and the dynamic camera movements from the previous director disappeared. Gone. Yates liked to direct and shot with a lot of silence and static shots, and when he needed to do movement, he went for a more documental-like handheld approach, almost like a documentary. This new style and the changes made to the book made Yates a controversial figure in the fandom. Personally, I think his quiet and mute approach really captured the loss of magic and bleak tones of the later parts of the history.
blah blah blah. This style is bland, boring, amateurish. And
Not all of his movies were well received by the public or critics. Some movies lend to the director's style, others not so much.
we can say that he just destroyed Harry Potter and call it a day.
No, he had amazing films, like my favorite, Origins of the Phoenix. In this movie, Yates brought out the isolation and the loneliness of Harry with his director's style. The movies and the books tackle themes of PSD, political intrigue, and censorship in a brilliant way. The movie and the books are pretty different. Origins of the Phoenix book is one of the longest ones in the series, with a count of 870 pages, and the movie, being one of the shortest movies in the franchise, had to cut a lot of costs. Yates decided to focus mainly on Harry and his journey, and in my opinion, succeeded. And besides that, David Yates didn't decide everything that went to the movie itself. Steve Kloves, the main writer, have a hand in that, but the fandom likes to blame Yates for everything, so...
Excuses, human, excuses. What about his next film? Even you can defend that.
Actually, no, I can't defend that.
Half-Blood Prince, also known as how David Yates made a boring movie where nothing happens, except at the end.
In the saga, this book is a brilliant look into the past and the backstory of several characters. The problem with the movie is that...
David Yates and the writers decide to focus on dumb stuff like the glasses, Hogwarts activities, and romance, instead of the important stuff, cutting a lot of what made the original book so amazing in the first place.
But even if that's the case, Yates' direction and style shines in the movie, using almost a monochromatic palette. It sets the somber and slow tone of the film. The movie itself showcases some of his talents as director, despite being a very subpar adaptation. So, well, it's a mixed bag, and is...
Boring. So damn boring.
Now, leaving that behind, we have to look at the final movie and an amazing work from David Yates, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This amazing movie was split into 2 parts, giving it time to properly adapt the material and avoid the issue of the previous movies. Yates goes all out in this film in an amazing and epic finale.
And then we have the horrible Fantastic Beast movies.
Yeah, if the last 4 somber films in the Harry Potter saga were a good match for Yates, thanks to his silent, quiet and demure style, the Fantastic Beasts saga were stories more fitted to early Harry Potter directors, with more dynamic camera movements, more vibrant colors. Yates' directing style didn't match well with these films, so now I don't like it.
Now the main problem area is up here. All of this going on up here is what's causing me the most physical discomfort. It's like a visceral reaction of discontent coming from this area. This area is not good either. I hate this, but I'm mainly worried about this.
So yeah, that's what Yates, he definitely the worst Harry Potter
Oh my
director.
god, can you please stop putting everything in black and white? Life is more nuanced than that. Each amazing director totally put their own special tone on the Harry Potter series, making it the magical, emotional and also captivating saga that we all know and love. Together, these fantastic directors created an epic journey. If the franchise is failing right now, it's exactly because we lost the variation and exchange of ideas and style of different directors.
You know what? Maybe you're right. Or maybe David Yates sucks.
I hate you.